Hello, this is a video for the tutorial of the program Delilah's Cut, where I'll be describing what it is, how to install it, how to use it effectively. Delilah's Cut essentially is an siRNA design tool that is meant to be as customizable to the researcher as possible, as well as transparent to what's going on as possible. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with siRNA and what exactly it can do and why it's so great. But having that targeted knockdown of mRNA can be incredibly powerful, especially for in vitro research and looking at, knocking down this protein. How can this affect that? It's pretty good at having minimal off-target effects. But the process of designing an siRNA can be a little bit of a pain, and you can run into a lot of accidents. So that's why a lot of tools have been developed online to help you build an siRNA. There's quite a few of them out there, and they all have slightly different methods. And most of them work pretty well and have a lot of features, and some of them have more features than this program. But this program does have one or a couple edges on them, which is it is much more customizable and a lot more transparent to what's going on. So if you have just a normal online tool, you might input a sequence, click a couple of boxes, and then get your output siRNAs and say these are the best ones. But it won't really tell you why it chose those ones and what qualities it has that makes those the best. So in this program, you're able to really edit every single option and pick what's so important to you about this siRNA. It'll find those ones for you and tell you what things it fulfills, which ones it doesn't. And it's very transparent and very customizable. So I think that's a huge benefit, especially if your use case for making siRNA isn't just as general as possible. Like maybe you want to ensure that it's going to be completely unfolded in solution, or you want to ensure that the GC content is a certain way, or maybe you don't care about the GC content and you want the program to also not care about that. This program can do all of that, and I think that's very beneficial, especially when siRNA research can be a little bit of a mixed bag with some findings that are very concrete and clearly beneficial and some that are only beneficial in certain cases. So the idea is to leave as much up to the researcher as possible. And with that being said, let's go over the installation. You can see everything you really need to know on this page right here, which is the GitHub for me and this program, and you can see all this information here that I won't go through. And then this is the contact information if you have any questions. To install it, it's very simple, and all you really need is this folder right here if you're going to be running the basic use case. If you want to actually edit the program and then repackage it yourself, adding a couple functions or whatever, you can do that too, and that's more in this folder. But with GitHub, it's a lot simpler to just download everything, so you can download the zip and then unpackage it wherever you see fit. And I already did this prior to this video just to make it as simple as possible, but it's a very simple process, and it'll lead you to getting this folder, which is the master branch of this. And then you can see this folder right here is what you really care about. And this README has all this information here. So this folder, the Delilah's Cut siRNA design, should be kept together because this contains all the files that will be interacting with your exe here. So you will get your outputs as PDFs here if you wish, and your save settings, which is another great feature of this program, that you can save the settings and rerun them. So if you want to adjust them a little bit or whatever, you can do whatever you need to do. And then these inputs allow you to access specific sequences. So I have PRDX6 in here because I've worked with that in the past. And then this is some example settings, so I'll be loading that in a second. But all you have to do is double click to open this. And then, all of a sudden this pops up, and this could happen because it's interacting with these files, but I assure you it's pretty safe. So hopefully you trust it and you can look into the files yourself. But all it's doing is interacting with these files, so your PC might get a little bit upset. So click run anyway, and then it'll open up the program right here. Let me make sure you can see it. Let me get this stuff out of the way. And we'll minimize that. This is the intro page, and here you can see information about it, which is a lot more detail than we need to go into in this video. And why this program is useful and what research is based on. And then usage, this goes into stuff that we'll go into in this video. And then begin analysis. So this is your basic settings page, and this is where you can really edit everything, the initial settings and the meta parameters of the run. So you can see there's length, what kind of siRNAs you want to generate in terms of length, how many outputs you want, and then how you want to input your sequence and get the settings. So just for the sake of example, I'm going to load some settings. And let's change this up so you can see how the settings change. I can enter a file name, and now you need to make sure that this file name is in your saved settings folder. So PRDX6 example is what we'll input. PRDX6 example, and when I load the settings, just grab the settings and sets the length to what they were. And you can, from this point, you can edit them and change them however you want. So I'll just set that 17 and 23 just kind of randomly. And then you can also choose how you want to input your sequence, whether it's a text file or direct input. Both these inputs will be processed in the same way. I'm just drawing from a different location. You can copy paste a sequence in, or you can text file, put a sequence in. And the text files will be in this. So I have PRDX6 here loaded because I worked with that protein in the past. And I'll be loading from a text file. And then is it cDNA or mRNA? Again, this is assuming that it's 5' to 3', and this is analogous to the mRNA that would be like in the cytoplasm, not the complementary sequence, so the actual mRNA sequence. And it also assumes that there's no introns that are in the sequence that you're giving. And then with this button, run current parameters, this will choose whether you adjust the rest of the settings, and I'm going to leave this off because I want to adjust the current parameters, not just run them. And then I would like to save these settings, and you'll see how that outputs there. So then I move on. And this screen is what pops up if you don't choose to run the current parameters but want to adjust them. So it's a little bit of a lot to look at to start, but it's pretty straightforward with how it's formatted. Basically, there's a question asked, is the siRNA unfolded in solution? And then if this is false and this checkbox is checked, then the program will exclude that RNA. So first the program generates all the siRNAs, and then it goes through this list of exclusionary parameters. So it says, is this siRNA unfolded in solution based on our modeling? And if it's not unfolded, then if this checkbox is checked, it will be excluded. So that was a little bit of a convoluted way to describe it, but hopefully that's clear. So basically, if this is important to me, I can make this exclusionary. So then I have a whole bunch of options here, which are based on the research. Does siRNA have a U or A in the first position? And if this is false, it'll be excluded because generally you want it to be true. And then so there's like a bunch of things here, and it might be a little bit overwhelming, just all the options you have, but that's the idea of the program, is that you can truly change whatever you want. And all of these are sourced from research. So the basic exclusionary options are what's loaded right now. So we don't want the siRNA to have a cytotoxic motif or an immune motif. And there's all this other stuff. Is it targeting a region within the right region, the mRNA, like 75 base pairs, and that kind of stuff. And there's a bunch of options, and then once you click next, your exclusionary options are locked in, and then you can choose from the remaining options how relatively important those are to you. So this is the rest of the options that are not exclusionary, and this is the relative weights of these parameters. So if this one's the most important to me, and I want the program to really prioritize siRNA that have a U in the first position, because that makes it looser, then I can turn this all the way up, and if something's completely unimportant to me, like what is this U in the 16th, A in the 10th, based on research again, I can turn that all the way down for my use case. And so what's important to me, I can turn up and put things wherever I want, and then the program will save that. Then I click next, and it saves all those settings, and I can choose where I want to get my sequence from. So I selected before that it's a text file, so I put in this text file's name, and I'll look for it in this folder. And then I can name my run, so I'm going to call this just test run, very creative, and that should work. And then when I click begin generating the siRNAs, the program will go through the process of generating all possible siRNAs, looking at each of them to see which one should be immediately excluded, excluding all of those, and then looking through the rest of them to score them on those parameters that we showed a second ago. And then it'll sort those and return you the best ones, and then give you a breakdown of why they're the best ones. So begin generating, and you might see some stuff pop up here. That's just the program working, don't worry about that. And then it'll give you results in the window, as well as a way for you to save this results as a PDF. So here's a rundown. It tells you basic stuff about your run, test runs, what the sequence is, if you want to read all that, and then more stuff about how the run was ran, and the exclusionary parameters and the scoring parameters. And then it'll give you overview of the actual RNAs that it came up with. So of the ones that weren't excluded, the best one I found was this 17 length RNA that's at position 1205 on the RNA with this sequence. And why is it the best? Well, luckily it tells you a full report, and it fulfills this, and it did not fulfill this, so it lost score on the not being in the unpaired mRNA region, and it did not have a U in the 16th position, which was a +0 score, so that one doesn't actually really matter. But it basically tells you what is so good about it or what is so bad about it, so you know exactly what you're getting into if you decide to use this siRNA. And then you can save that as PDF and then exit the program, and then the program has been completed. And you can see in these folders that our settings got saved, which is in the form of a JSON file, which the program can read. And then the PDF is also saved here, and I can open that up, and it looks very similar to what you saw on the screen, and you can see all these siRNAs. And that's the gist of the program. If I were to run this program again, which we might as well do, I would be able to load up the settings that I just used. So, test run, I load the settings, and it'll give me those settings back. So, okay, now I can look at the parameters. Yeah, it looks about right. And it'll be the same as the ones I used before. So if I want to, iterate on the settings or do whatever I need to do, it will allow you to do that. So hopefully you find this program helpful. This is the first version of it, and in the future there's a lot of hope to do additional stuff with automatically doing blast searches for off-target effects. Right now that's not included, and that's one of the main advantages of the competitor programs, because it's too computationally intensive, as well as working on adding additional functions, adding support for Mac, and that kind of stuff you can see in the future. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or you can also email me or contact me, however you can find me basically, but email or comments or that kind of stuff. And I hope that you find this program useful and helps you in your research.